Hey, good morning and happy Monday morning, Heroic Fatherhood. This is Charlie King, and I want to invite you on this Monday morning where it is gray and pouring rain in the Northwest. I am really excited because we've got another in the ongoing series called Dad's Making a Difference. This is an ongoing interview series where I grab onto some really influential dad bloggers in the space, talk to them about their journey as a dad blogger, their decision to take the journey that they've had of being a dad and how that's impacted them and make it public, and ask them questions about how that might change them or what the feedback they've gotten from being willing to get their story out there and have it live live in real time. And I am super excited because camera left is my friend Brent Almond from Designer Daddy and Lunchbox Notes. Good morning, Brent. How are you this morning?
Morning. It's actually super lunch notes.
It's super lunch notes.
That's why I think there's a lot of them.
Well, we're gonna jump into that. First, tell me, where are you? Are you in a place that isn't as rainy as where I am?
Yes. I'm in Maryland, just outside of DC.
Ooh, good seafood there, I think.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, you've got good seafood too. It's a little gray, but not too bad.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. And on a Monday morning, we're super thankful. We had to bump up this interview just a little bit in our time frame, and I super appreciate Brent being willing to join us first thing on a Monday morning. I can't think of a better way to jump in and get excited with the day. Well, Brent, given that we're interviewing dad bloggers, why don't you start by telling us about your family?
Okay, well, I am married to my husband, Nick. We've been together for about 20 years. Legally married for 4 or 5. And we have an 8-year-old son, John, that we adopted. And we have a 12-year-old Portuguese water dog, and that's our family.
That's excellent. I like that we've been together for 20 years, but we've been married for 5. You're holding out for a long time until you're sure it was right.
No, we were waiting for it to be legal.
Oh, excellent. And now it is. That we're very, very happy about. That's so great. So you were telling me this, that your son took on football.
Yes, he's been doing taekwondo for the last few years, but he kind of petered out. I think he has a pretty short attention span, and it focuses on like individual skills, and he was just not digging it anymore. So he wanted to try football, so he went to a flag football clinic for kids 2nd to 5th grade.
Right.
And yeah. He was the littlest one there, but he like with anything he does, the coach told him he had nice energy. So,
you know what? Enthusiasm's half the game. That's certainly my philosophy, if nothing else.
Yeah.
So how long has your son been in your life? You said you'd adopted him. How long has he been with you?
We got him the night he was born.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah, he was born a month early. So we got a very expensive flight and got out there that night. We adopted him from Portland, Oregon, actually. So in your neck of the woods. So it was a long flight, but we got there and got to spend his first night together. So
now you cut your teeth professionally as a designer, as a graphic designer. Is that correct?
Yes.
And at what point did you start rolling in your design work into how did fatherhood suddenly start impacting your design work?
Well, I became a father.
So you're saying right away.
Yeah. Well, actually, before that, I think, because I've been working a lot in the education space. I mean, being in DC, there's a lot of associations and nonprofits, and a lot of them I worked with were related to children, to education, to children's advocacy. And plus, my style of design has always been very colorful and pop art, so it was not wasn't a rough transition into kind of doing more design for the blog and related to fatherhood. And so.
Oh, how great is that? So like your natural the flavor of your design lent itself to more childlike or more light and colorful.
Yes, or immature. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, everything. I like fun. I like color. You know, that's just the influence of comic books and Andy Warhol and, you know, Crayola, box of Crayola crayons. All those things were like always what I was drawn to. So.
Oh, great. And when did you, and so did you start the blog right away as soon as your son joined your life?
No, I started it, officially launched on his first birthday with a post about the birth announcement that I had designed for him. So I thought that was a fitting kind of merger of designerhood and daddyhood. Yeah, that's when I started it. So it's a little over 7 years old, the blog.
Yeah. Well, but if you're doing design work already, like, so you've already got an outlet for your design work, what was the inspiration for doing a blog that sort of celebrated fatherhood?
Well, I think, I'd been working on my own company for many years, and I think I was kind of looking for something different. And certainly becoming a father was an inspiring process. And I found that being a gay father, while I wasn't the only one, I was still kind of a rare bird in my circles. And I thought I had something to say and kind of a unique point of view. And I'd always loved writing. Like, I went to college as a journalism major before switching to graphic design. But yeah, I think that's what inspired it, and just wanted to try something different, And I think it initially started out as, this is going to like support my design business. But in the years since, it's kind of evolved into the blog and the work related to that being a lot more prominent than my kind of straight design clients.
Oh, wow. That sounds so great. So at what point did your son suddenly realize that dad is taking his considerable skills and applying them to stuff for me?
Well, when we talked about the lunch notes, that was probably the biggest hint, because so I do these lunch notes in his lunchbox every day. I started it when he was in preschool, and I was putting them on Instagram, and they got featured on BuzzFeed and went viral and went all kind of nuts a few years ago. And so he and I actually went downtown DC and were interviewed via satellite by the Australian version of the Today Show. So he got to be on TV studio in front of a camera, and that was a big deal. And then he had some friends that saw it, and I think that was like, he liked that. He liked the attention and telling his dad was famous. And now he gives his notes to his friends. He used to bring them home, but now he gives them to different friends every day. Nice.
It's like currency at school then, huh?
Kind of, yeah. And there's certain friends that their parents have sent me pictures, like they have, a whole bunch of my notes taped to their wall. They have like a little lunch note shrine and stuff. So it's kind of neat.
Very cool. So and like, do you do them tell us a little bit about it for those folks who haven't followed it? Like, do you do it on a Post-it? Is it black and white? Is it color? What kind of topics do you cover? What does a lunch note say?
Well, they're all on Post-its, and they're all, and I use Sharpies, and I have like every color of Post-it note.
Wow.
They come in black.
I'm an office supply guy. You have just made my day.
Wait, here's this. Here's my Sharpie collection.
Oh, I'm coming to your house.
Well, actually, I had to mix in another brand. Sharpie, I was loyal to, but they only had like 2 shades of brown, and I like to mix in a lot of diversity, and I had to get something.
Okay, I have to ask now. There's another brand that's as good as Sharpie?
It's not as good, but they have more. It's a Bic, but it has more. It's a permanent marker.
Sure.
Anyway, maybe they'll give me some business. But they started out, I just scribbled a quick Batman on a Post-it, and initially it was all superheroes, because it was kind of my way of educating my son about one of my passions. And we were watching a lot of the TV shows and everything, so I always did somebody that he knew or something that I had just introduced to him. But then quickly, I had to get into other things and started. It was like an education process for myself, like Pokemon. Oh my God. Not only learning what they're called, but learning how to draw them, because they're not simple. And Transformers and Ninja Turtles, and I've even done a couple of professional wrestlers recently, because my son's really into WWE. And so it's pretty much anything at this point, but it always comes back to superheroes, which is where the kind of name came from, Super Lunch Nuts. So.
Oh, very cool. And that's so great. That's so excellent to be able to send something with him to make him think of you every day. But this is like this isn't just a you and him thing. This isn't just him and his friends thing. This is something that went incredibly viral. How's that been for you and he?
Well, I think it's a lot of fun, and I love seeing what people think, and I try to do a request every month or so, and that helps me draw things that my son doesn't know. Like if I want to draw a Sailor Moon or a My Little Pony or something from a request, I can do that. But whenever I draw it, I always have to go back to, this has to be somebody that he knows, somebody that he likes, and I try to tie it into something, a movie he's seen or a TV show or a message to kind of encourage him, or I just reposted one from when he was in preschool about not biting your friends because he had gone through a biting phase. So there's also life lessons, raising your hand and flushing the toilet and stuff like that. But it always goes back to me talking to him, regardless of who else sees it and who else likes it, because otherwise it wouldn't be as meaningful to me, and I think it would come across as less genuine, I think.
I love what I notice I'm hearing from you, which I love so much, is how much you consistently look back to anchor it to your son as the place that you get your inspiration and where the intention comes from.
I mean, luckily, if it's not directly from him, I've raised him to be, into a lot of things that I like and movies and such. So, there'll be Black Panther one coming up soon. And this week I'm actually doing all dads, since I'm going to Dad 2.0 later in the week. So today I did Fred Flintstone. So
excellent. So you're certainly doing the lunch notes. What else is there? Because the site is Designer Daddy. It's not lunch notes. Right. So tell us a little bit about some of the other stuff you're doing.
Well, it's funny. I just posted a kind of a best of 2017, and I'm always late to that kind of thing. But it's more for me, I think, than anybody else, because I like to look back and look over the year and see what I wrote about, see what happened in the year. I think with a lot of other people, I waded into more political waters. I'd always talk about things that some would consider political, because I kind of documented the legalization of same-sex marriage, but that was on a very personal level, sharing about my own wedding and everything. But I did an ABCs of Trump post at one point, and another one about using the lunch notes. Like, if Trump were my kid, here's what I would tell him, the advice I would give him. And I use some of my lunch notes, like be good and keep your hands to yourself and stuff like that.
That is extraordinarily awesome.
If only he would listen.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. So, there's I guess a mix of politics and like a lot of people with kids my age, bloggers with kids my age, I'm writing less and less about him. Because I know that he can read and he can use the internet, and he has friends that use the internet. And so I wouldn't want to put anything that was too embarrassing to him, like the fact that he walked in on us a couple weeks ago. Oops.
Sorry, that happened.
Wait, we're live. I thought it'd make a great blog post, but I don't think I can do that.
Yeah. So I often talk about, in our community, I often talk about the fact that it's really like old hat, right? Like it's old hat that dads are out sharing their experience. Inside our group, lots of folks are, sharing the struggles they have and asking for support and things like that. And it's always a reminder that actually we're on kind of the cutting edge of, dads being willing to lean in and share how it's going for them, whether it be in the way that they depict artwork or the way that they write their blog or the videos that they're doing or the kinds of things that they're projecting out in the world. Yours is double that and then some by choosing to be a public gay dad doing so. I'm curious, what's the response been?
For the most part, it's been positive. Every once in a while, I'll get some negative feedback. I got more earlier, and it was usually when I was being interviewed than from something that I had done. Like I'd done an interview with CBS for their website a few years ago on Father's Day, and it got so much negative comments that they had to shut down the comments, which they don't ever do. But I think we've come a long way. It's been mostly, overwhelmingly positive. But you're right. I mean, it feels like it's old hat. It's not a big deal, but to a lot of people in the world, it is still a big deal. And you still see that just in the feedback you get from certain people in certain parts of the country too, especially I think for gay dads, same-sex marriage has been legalized and adoption is a lot easier almost everywhere, but there's still people who live in places where it's a huge deal to be gay, number one, and number two, to be a parent. A gay parent is a huge deal. And I'm part of a couple of fathers groups on Facebook, and so it's a good way to kind of see how things are going in the rest of the country, and not just in my own little bubble.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for sharing that piece, because it's really something that struck me about this series is hearing everybody's message and realizing that there isn't anybody that doesn't have some circumstance that they have to face in the way that they live their life. Whether they're a dad blogger, whether they're a gay dad blogger, whether they're not any of the above, but everybody's got their challenges and their struggles. Mm-hmm. And it just seems like such a great reminder for an invitation to empathy, right? Like reminding ourselves that, not only is compassion a good thing for ourselves, but it's, it really reminds us that there are people who are facing stuff that we just don't even know about. And I'm certainly reminded from what you're sharing with us the same.
I think I've probably gotten as much or more out of my blog than anybody else has. It's, whenever I write something that's more personal and getting the feedback that I get, it always is a great reminder that I'm not the only one who feels, A, B, or C, or is going through A, B, or C. There's always somebody else out there.
Yeah. And now, how long have you belonged to the online dads groups that you do?
Well, I've been involved in the Dad Bloggers Facebook group since the beginning, and which is, I think it's a little over 5 years now.
Yeah.
So that's the main one that I keep in touch with, and that's how I found out about Dad 2.0 and kind of how they feed off each other. So. Yeah.
Do you belong to any dads groups in person?
Not officially. There is a city dads group in DC, but we've built a pretty good posse of gay dads and straight dads. We have a group of dads from my son's preschool, 3 or 4 of us that we still hang out with a lot. And then we have a pretty big group of gay dads too that we hang out with. So I haven't felt the need to join an official group.
Yeah.
I've got enough official groups going on otherwise. So.
Well, it seems to me like that, it's a great reflection, right? Like when we find ourselves structured around some static activity that our kids are in, whether it's a sport or a school, very often it comes with the infrastructure that their parents attach to it. And I remember when I first had kids, I was like, I'm not going to be one of those parents that only hangs out with their friends, their friends' parents. I'm going to have my own friends, and we'll do some of that with it. And then I had kids, and then I was like, oh, that's who your friends become, right? That's where you have that shared connection with others.
Yeah, it's funny because it's a rare thing when you find that combination of parents you really like and your kids really get along. It's not usually the case. I've always thought it'd be fun to meet everybody's kids from the dad blog community. I've met quite a few, but there's a big bunch of us that have kids all around the same age, and it'd be fun to get them all together, see if they hate each other or not, or get along.
Right. Or if they spend the entire time saying, I can't believe my dad tells all those stories.
Right. Or they'll probably just be on the iPad the whole time playing video games.
Well, it's highly likely.
Watching Daddy.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You shared that one of the things that in our pre-interview, one of the things you shared was one of what you got out of joining online groups and some of the dad groups was that you discovered that some of the stuff that you were, challenged with or maybe struggling with, you weren't alone in that.
Yeah, I mean that was huge from the beginning, and I think and it was great, even if it was something, even if it wasn't something that people were also going through. Having that community was great when the whole marriage battle was going on, and we ended up with a couple guys in the group who were not very gay friendly, let's say, and I didn't necessarily need them to, but a lot of the guys kind of had my back, and and that felt great to feel that have that support. And I think that was expressed in the rest of the country when marriage was legalized. But the even just recently, there was a guy, just like yesterday, I think there was a guy that posted the question, "How do you know if you're a good dad?" And he got tons of answers, and nobody was really sure what the reason for the question was. If it was for a blog post, or just asking, and got a lot of answers, varying answers from all over the place. And my answer was, I think it was basically you keep trying, even if you feel like you're a total crap dad. You just keep trying. That's what you do, and that's how you know you're a quote unquote good dad. But turns out, I mean, I won't give too much detail, but he was having some issues with his relationship, and it was, and I think it was pretty helpful for him. And I think for all of us too, just kind of have that place to not just talk about blogging and sponsored posts and algorithms, but to talk personal stuff.
Yeah. And that's the, the men's groups that I've put together, the online stuff that I've done, and certainly in Dad Bloggers that we both belong to, there's this, the gift of transparency, right? Mm-hmm. Like it can feel so like if all people do is talk about business, or all people talk about is sports, or all people talk about whatever topic you have at hand, it robs the conversation of a real sense of connection and intimacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the group this Dad Blogger Facebook group has gone through a lot of changes in terms of the levels of interaction and intimacy. And I don't think it's as engaging as it has been in the past, or it's, it kind of shifts with the guys coming and going. Part of it's because the size getting bigger. But yeah, it's always there. I mean, it may not be as frequently, but there's always going to be someone to pop in and say, "Hey, I'm really going through something rough." And I think that paired with talking about blogs and the mechanics of that, and writing and dad jokes, it kind of makes for a very holistic experience.
Yeah, we seem to cover all of it. We seem to cover it all, the width and breadth.
Yeah.
So, what's up for 2018 for Designer Daddy?
Well, like I said, I've been trying to. Oh, maybe I didn't say this on the air, but for my Instagram account, I'm moderating a panel at Dad 2.0. It'll be on Saturday. And one of the things I'm trying to do with my Instagram account is increase the engagement, as opposed to just trying to get more and more followers. And that just, that entails being a little more creative in ways to elicit responses from people, whether it's a survey or a giveaway or something fun. And because that's been a way that I've been able to get some new business, and it's always a fun way to integrate those campaigns into my Instagram account, whether it's for Marvel or Nickelodeon or whatever. There's plenty of ways to work in a lunch note or something like that. I have been for a couple of years, and I get tired of hearing myself say this and not be finished, but I'm working on a children's book. So I'm putting it out there again, just to make sure that the universe is holding me accountable. And that's a big goal for me in terms of writing and designing. And, with the blog, just to continue to do what I like, and, see where that takes me.
And see where that takes you. That's excellent. That's excellent. I just love it sounds like you've I'm going to figure out words for this. It sounds like you've really integrated your gifts for self-expression and creativity into the fabric of the way that you dad, right? And I think it's so awesome the way that you're sharing it as well, and that it's really become this sort of wholehearted sharing of your son's journey and yours as a dad. Like, it's really very cool. I love listening to the story of how it's iterated over time.
Yeah, I mean, I hope. I mean, my hope is that it makes it more fun and engaging for my son. But it's fun for me. It's kind of like I need to make something more fun or pretty or silly to make me enjoy it. I mean, there's some things you can't. I mean, changing diapers, I'm not sure there's a way to make that more fun, unless you write something funny about it. So it's kind of applying the creativity, not just to how I parent, but to how I approach it and how, my relationship with my son goes. Because I felt insecure from the beginning about not just being a gay dad, being a dad who wasn't into sports. And just how would that work out if I had a son who was? Like, I never played football, but it's an adventure. I mean, it's something to write about. It's something to see where it takes me, see where it takes him, and learn from it, hopefully.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. I love that. Once again, back to that transparency. It's like, I don't know. Let's figure it out together. I have no idea how this is going to go. That's kind of my experience of parenting as well. And I've got teens these days.
Yeah.
Which is its own journey.
Yes, I'm sure.
All right. Well, Brent Almond from Designer Daddy, thank you so much for taking time to be part of the Dad's Making a Difference series here at Heroic Fatherhood. One last question we're trying to remember to ask all our interviewees is, what's one thing you do first thing in the morning that helps you set up to have a real win for the day?
Transparency here. If it's been a rough morning, getting my son out the door, or a long night, I will actually go back to bed for half an hour. I set a timer on my phone and sleep for half an hour before I get up and do anything else. And it really seems to help. I feel a little bit guilty, but it helps.
Oh, it sounds like a great reset button.
Yeah.
My only concern about that is if I got in bed, no half an hour alarm would get me out of bed when I was done.
I schedule things like this to get me out of bed.
Well, Brent, thank you again for being a part of this. I look forward to seeing you in New Orleans later this week. And remember, stay tuned to this space. There's going to be lots of live stuff coming up over the next week. Maybe Brent and I will jump online and be on the same camera in the same physical space while we're in New Orleans. And again, thanks from Heroic Fatherhood, and thanks, Brent Almond, for joining us in the Dad's Making a Difference series.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Brent.
Bye.
Take care.